In this day and age, we have the power of technology. Much of the world's population, especially in the US, have made technology a part of everyday life. You need technology to access videos like this one, the one you're watching right now, whether that be from your phone, computer, or tablet, or all three at the same time. Technology has become so readily available that a Pew Research study found that 95% of teens have phones, and about 97% of teens use the internet in the US. One of technology's most useful functions is its high speed communication. It wouldn't take very long for news to reach one side of the world from the other. For the average Joe, most technology usage is spent on social media, which lets us talk and catch up with all of our friends and family. It also lets us update our profiles, like our latest activities, or look at influencers for cool fashion inspiration. Popular social media apps like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and TikTok have a variety of different ways to share, such as through text posts, videos, and pictures. It's great! What could be wrong with social media? It can connect us no matter the distance. Well, it may be possibly kind of killing us. Like, I'm talking mentally, physically, and spiritually. Well, maybe not super literally. Let me explain. If you're someone who regularly uses social media, the situation may sound familiar. It's late at night, and you're laying in bed, scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, or maybe even a couple YouTube videos. You could feel your body is tired, and the fact that you keep delaying much needed sleep. But your eyes glued to the screen anyways, ignoring the voice at the back of your head telling you to sleep. You might even be telling yourself, just one more video. But oh no, it wasn't just one video. As 5 minutes go by, then a couple of hours, then one video becomes another video, and another video, until it's 5 a.m. and you feel your heart sink as you realize it's too late. You have been defeated. Maybe you found that all the little in-between moments in your life, such as walking to class or eating breakfast, are all spent staring down at your phone. Maybe it feels like you have to constantly distract yourself with something. If you have experienced this, you might be addicted to social media. Defined by the American Society Addiction Medication, it describes addiction as either the use of substances or a type of behavior that is compulsive and continues to do so, despite harmful consequences. The reason could be it alters your reward system and the sense of self-control. Symptoms of social media addiction include, but aren't limited to, feelings of loneliness, depression, aggression, anxiety, low self-image, and suicidal thoughts. If it's so bad to use social media, why do we continue to do it? Well, like most addictions, it's theorized that it might be because of excessive dopamine flooding your system, which is a chemical responsible for the feelings of satisfaction, pleasure, and motivation. It's also known as your reward system, and social media is no stranger to this system. It makes sense because pleasure usually comes from funny, entertaining, interesting, or thrilling events, and with platforms like TikTok, you are constantly fed that content each and every second. A plausible correlation to why we turn to social media is simply due to boredom. A study by a big enough science team hypothesizes boredom is caused by simply not having enough emotional stimuli. Anyways, even when you try your absolute hardest to stop, you seem to always gravitate back to your phone and social media. You might be experiencing what's known as classical and operant conditioning, stated by The Science of Psychology by Laura A. King. King describes classical conditioning as a psychological concept that we subconsciously associate a neutral stimulus, bedroom and phone, with a meaningful stimulus, relaxation and entertainment. This is why when people have high energy, return home, they have a feeling of tiredness and a sense of needing to relax and wanting to go on their phone. However, like other addictions, when you get that stimulus all the time, your body learns to expect that stimulus. Over time, your body decreases reactivity to it because now it's used to it. Because your tolerance is raised, this means that it takes more to stimulate you, meaning you have to scroll for longer and longer to ease that craving you have. If you don't want to self-destruct from your own doing, we recommend you to reward your good habits, instead of rewarding your bad ones. so you can get addicted to only the finest stuff. You need to break those habits of yours by replacing them with good habits that will ultimately be better for your well-being. Some habits that we recommend you to try are to time and or monitor yourself, turn your phone off before sleeping, and not invest so much time into social media. We'll dive deeper in the specifics later. The basic steps of breaking these habits are fairly simple, but hard to execute. First, figure out what the trigger is. For example, when I get stressed, I immediately grab my phone and turn it on to go on TikTok for a second, just to put my phone down immediately after. 2. Understand what the routine is. When I get home, I do my homework, and then get stressed, then go on my phone. 3. Recognize the reward. I was able to relieve the stress for only a second. First, stop investing so much of yourself on social media. Remind yourself that the way people present themselves on social media profiles aren't real people. They filtered out their flaws. It's exhausting to strive for these ideals that aren't realistic. If you prioritize how people will perceive you, you will only question how you perceive yourself. The National Center for Health Research and Kayla and her colleagues all found that digesting and internalizing all of the posts and all the beauty standards will only lead to dissatisfaction with one's body appearance. With dissatisfaction usually comes with alterations, and too extreme of dissatisfaction generally leads to unhealthy and harmful habits such as bulimia, a possible life-threatening eating disorder, or excessive exercise for the sake of being perceived better by achieving a dream body. When we say not to invest so much of yourself into social media, we mean your effort, time, and emotions. Avoid pouring so much effort and energy into creating your online persona through picking the perfect picture to post, digitally editing it, and then monitoring your profile constantly to see how many likes or comments you got. These activities were all linked to increased body dissatisfaction. It is perfectly normal to want approval, but letting that desire manifest into behaviors can potentially hurt you. And just for gratification, it's not healthy in the long term. Realize that you are not a self-improvement project, and you are fine the way you are now. Sleep. We all need it. Stanford estimates that in a 2006 study that 87% of high school students get far less sleep each night. One of the growing concerns are phones and devices. As I stated before, 95% of teens have phones, and 97% of them use the internet. So the simple recommendation is to put your phone, device, computer, or all three away before you go to sleep so you won't be tempted to look. Or maybe put it somewhere far, where it takes the extra effort to reach. But you might be wondering, why? So, quick rundown. The blue light emitted from your phones and other devices messes up what is called the circadian rhythm, also known as your biological clock. Lack of light causes your body to release melatonin. This is also known as the hormone that makes you sleepy. The darker it is, the sleepier you get, because of more melatonin. And vice versa, the more exposure to the light, the less melatonin is released, making you less sleepy. The effects of less sleep include weight gain or loss, control of emotion, lack of motivation, lack of cognitive functions, and lack of performance. There are also external factors like work shifts, homework, and family and friends that affect sleep. On top of any stressors like these, cell phones can be a real melatonin killer, as the more you entertain yourself, the more you don't want to hop off that crusty phone. With all that being said, it makes sense why researchers from Stanford and the National Center of Health Research state that it could lead to quite a few negative mental outcomes like depression, anxiety, and thoughts of suicide. So sleep is important. It could be super stressful and hard to juggle if you aren't even functioning at 100%. We recommend that you put your phone or device far away from your bed, and to avoid even having it while in bed. When you do want to use your device, put it down at least 2 hours before bedtime. Time and monitor what you are doing. Though there is not enough concrete evidence on how much you should spend on social media, there are indications that tell you that you aren't managing time properly. Some evidence of negative side effects comes from the study from the National Library of Medicine, where they randomly selected caregivers and had a sample size of 44,734 children. They found that 14 to 17-year-olds who had 4 hours of screen time to be 70% more likely to not be curious, 66% more likely to not finish tasks they started, and 55% were likely to argue with their caregivers, comparatively to low users who only spend about 1 hour a day. Frequent users with 7+ hours comparatively to infrequent users were twice more likely to be diagnosed with depression or anxiety. increased difficulty of making friends, and are unskilled in emotional control. The National Institute of Health suggests if you have a problem, you want to set timers for yourself and monitor how much time you're spending on certain social media platforms, or delay when you can use it. You don't want to look at your phone during dinner or a meeting, but if you finish your homework or chore, you definitely can. To monitor yourself, use the screen time setting on your phone and just choose the maximum amount of time you want to spend on it. Keep in mind to be reasonable with yourself. For example, don't lower your usage from 4+ hours to 30 minutes, as the expectations are too high and unrealistic, and you can get disappointed, which is the last thing you want to do to yourself. You want to take gradual steps, like 15 minutes less today, then 20 minutes the next week. If you can't handle the responsibility, give your phone to someone else, or put it in a difficult spot, like the crevices of your bed where it's really hard to fish out, so you can't grab it very easily. Social media is a wonderful tool that allows us to improve society into a more complex and diverse group that allows multiple perspectives to be heard. In the big picture, this tool can be the fuel to create a better environment for advocacy and encourage us to demand for accountability from organizations and individuals of power. Social media can also create a sense of community and acceptance, which you might find yourself struggling to experience in your everyday life. It can also inform you on everyday problems and struggles that you can change, kind of like how we're talking about social media and how it affects millions of its users, as it can create or increase already present mental health problems. We want you, the viewer, to be more informed on the risks of consistent long periods of time that you may spend on social media. We want you to know that moderation of screen time is not a bad thing. Having more time here and there is perfectly normal, and it can really release built up stress or just give you a second to breathe in this hectic world of ours. Well, at least sometimes. I'm Glendon.
And I'm Kayla.
And we wanted to say thank you for watching our video.